Typically, when you are a filmmaker, you are not just telling these different stories, but you are also telling your stories through them. Kung conscious tayo dun sa mga bagay sa paligid natin, mas na itatama natin yung kwento natin at yung paggawa ng pelikula natin. Kahit saang yugto pa yan ng buhay mo, dapat inaasikaso mo yung mga iba pang bagay bukod sa trabaho mo. Mura siya. So, nandun pa rin yun. Kasi ang tingin nila sa pelikulang Pilipino, ganito lang yung amount.
Lights, camera, action. Lakas makadirect, di ba? Malaking parte ng ating mga buhay ang mga pelikula. Pero kadalasan, ang focus natin ay nasa mga bida. Paano naman ang mga nasa likod ng camera? Ang utak at humahabi ng istorya. Ngayong araw, samahan niyo akong kilalanin si Direk J. Altarejos, isang batikang film director na humakot ng mga parangal hindi lang dito sa Pilipinas, kundi pati na rin sa ibang bansa. Ako po si Dirinsoy Baguio. Ito ang Kahit Ngayon. Okay. So sa panahon ngayon, parang napansin ko na parami ng parami yung mga nagpa-pursue ng career path na taliwas dun sa pinursu nilang degree. Mm-hmm. Isa ako dun sa mga taong yun.
Ako din.
Coming from a chemical engineering background. Tapos nandito na ako sa broadcasting. Pero ako, 2 years from graduation pa lang ako. Mm-hmm. And we have a guest here in the podcast na talagang all the way nag-pursue ng something different dun sa pinursu niyang course. We have Direk J. Yes. Hi, Direk. Thank you so much at umayag ka na samahan kami dito sa podcast. How are you? How are you today?
I'm good, I guess. Maraming salamat for inviting me here. And
the honor is ours. The pleasure is ours. Pero paano ka na-push to change direction, to pivot from medtech papuntang filmmaking? Paano nangyari yun?
There were a lot of circumstances behind it. Like, nung nag-aaral kasi ako, nagkaroon kami ng problema sa pamilya, just like anyone else. No?
Yeah.
And now, on hindsight, baka hindi talaga ako para doon. Kasi,
paano mo nasabi?
Hindi ko kaya yung, kung paano mag-aral yung mga medtech. Like, kanina na-share ko na parang there was an exam for quantitative chemistry and I didn't memorize the formula.
Daming formula niyan.
Hindi ko na-memorize. So, I cheated and...
Parang cheated?
Cheated. As in, really cheated. I had a copy of the formula and I thought I couldn't go through my entire college doing this. You know, because I was a diligent student. So, hindi ako yun eh. So, feeling ko hindi ko kaya siya. So, and at the same time, nung panahon na yun, parang wala na rin kaming resources for that and to further the studies because I really wanted to be a doctor. So,
oo, medyo mahal kasi
mahal talaga yun.
ng med sa Pinas.
So, minto ako and then, among other things, I left home.
Right after tumigil ka?
Right after tumigil ako, I worked sa mga fast food.
You left home?
I left home.
Because ayaw nila dun sa decision mo?
No. There was a certain situation in the family that, you know, I don't want to divulge. You know?
I understand.
And so I had to leave home, you know. And so I was living with people, sleeping everywhere. And so...
Hirap nun. And you were how young?
I was 18 then.
18.
So then, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be in the theater. So I saw an ad for a summer workshop for theater sa Philippine Educational Theater Association, PETA. So doon, sumali ako. Then from there, someone asked me, do you want to be a production assistant? And I said, what is that? A TV production assistant. They said, we'll teach you. So, tinuruan naman nila ako, no? Unfortunately, I had a very, very good starting point. We were working with Ishmael Bernal, national artist for film and broadcast. So
parang serendipitous din.
Yes,
na napunta ka in that direction. Nakita mo yung ad na yun.
Nakita ko yung ad na yun.
Mga tao na tumulong sa'yo.
Tumulong sa akin. So, up to now, when I see them, for example, si Ellen Ungkeko, May Casada, when I see them, I say, you paved the way for me to be here in the industry. And from then on, I sort of climbed my way up, like becoming a production manager, associate producer, assistant director. And then when I was an assistant director, I said, gusto ko maging director. So I gave myself 2 years to study on my own, study books, watch films,
Hindi ka nag-enroll?
Hindi ako nag-enroll kasi nagtatrabaho na ako that time.
Sinabay mo.
I was also helping my family. So, ayun. And then after 2 years, I was kind of fortunate because I was friends with the daughter of Victor Rosario. I was working with Viva already in television. I just said, I want to be a director. I said, okay. Find a story. It was for an anthology. Find a story, and you've been working as an assistant director. So, yes, we'll give you a chance. So, it was kind of easy for me, I think.
Pero I think yung connection na meron ka at that time, you built...
I did.
As in, step by step mo.
Step by step.
It wasn't there from the very start.
It wasn't there from the very start. And from the very start, I knew I didn't know anything about this industry. Pero kasi ako, kahit naman ngayon, I am a diligent student of things. No? Like, when I am doing something na wala akong alam, I really study. I study on my own. And I think your generation is very fortunate to have all this information, on the net that you can just, type anything and read things. Unlike before, it was really, really hard. No? Pero doon nagsimula at nandito na tayo.
Ilang years?
What do you mean?
Ilang years ka na in the industry?
I've been making films for 17 years.
Pero from
prior
being
to
a production assistant.
I forgot actually.
Forgot? Walang year reveal? 1990 something?
1990s, yeah. 1990s.
Bago pa ako isilang sa mundo.
Yes.
So, matagal na.
Matagal na rin. Pero gumawa lang ako ng pelikula noong 2007. I mean, actually...
So, matagal-tagal rin. Yung pag-akyat mo, papunta
pero
sa
director
point
na ako. Prior to that, I was really a TV director, professional TV director.
But independently?
Independently since 2007.
Oh. Yeah. Kailan naging buo yung loob mo? Na, okay, dito na ako sa filmmaking. Dito na ako sa industriyang to. Kasi for me, I'm still at the push and pull season.
Yeah.
Tama ba to? Broadcasting ba ako? Or babalik pa ako sa maybe in 3 years from now? Maybe next year? Maybe next week? So, nandun pa ako sa push and pull. Pero ikaw, kailan mo na-realize? How far along?
I think 4 years into TV work, I knew.
TV director?
Yes.
May particular instance na na-realize mo na may turnaround na, okay, dito na ako. Sigurado na ako.
Sigurado na ako. Wala naman. Parang I just enjoy it. I enjoyed it so much, and it gave me, ako sinasabi ko nga that working for television and films have given me so much in my life. Considering that I did not finish school, and went through a lot of hardships. But this industry has given me so much, not only in terms of finances, but also of who I am at the moment, the identity that I have, the things, kung paano ako ngayon mag-isip, kung paano ako makita yung mundo dahil yun sa paggawa ng pelikula. Cinema has widened my view on life, if I may say so. Parang ganun. So, nakita ko yung, akala mo kasi, lalo na pag TV, sa totoo lang, tapos you're always busy. Akala mo hindi matatapos yung trabaho eh. But there were times na wala talaga akong trabaho in between. And being a freelancer always gives you that sense of insecurity.
Yeah.
Diba?
I feel that.
Diba? Yung parang,
nagsisimula pa lang ako,
diba?
but I already feel that.
Na you will grab anything. Pero sana dapat hindi natin isipin yun eh. Na parang we really need to take time to rest, to nurture ourselves in between work. Kasi it will help you go through life. Kasi mas mahaba pa eh. So ako nung nagti-TV kasi ako, hindi ako nagpapahinga eh. Alam mo yan, parang shoot today, shoot na naman bukas, tapos pag wala akong shoot ng 1 linggo, parang,
nakakabaliw.
Nakakabaliw, di ba? Ganun ang pag-freelance eh.
Yes.
Along the way, tinanggap ko siya na if I wanted to be a freelancer, I will go through that. And it's okay. Kasi nakita ko rin naman, even those who have regular jobs have insecurities about
Yeah.
finances.
Yeah.
I mean, yung mauubos na yung sahod mo pero wala pa yung sahod. That's insecurity. Because this is part of the system that we have. You are not well compensated. Even if you have a regular job or you are a freelancer, pare-pareho lang naman yan eh. So, tinanggap ko yun. Tinanggap ko yung insecurity na yan. And meron pa nga ako dati, parang nung medyo bata ba ako at sobra ako insecure. May tinatago ako, dapat may buffer ako for 3 months.
Okay. Kailangan mabuhay ka ng 3 months kahit walang pasok.
Kahit walang pasok. So, ibig sabihin yun, yung itatabi mo sa kung saan mo man yung itatabi na 3 months na hindi magbabago yung whatever lifestyle you have. Parang hindi ka na-insecure, no?
Grabe yung timing. Because, again, I'm still in the season. I'm trying to accept that. I love what I do in broadcasting, in our industry. Pero ang hirap tanggapin yung volatility ng trabaho natin.
Yes.
Na I could be so busy working 7 days a week and then may 2 weeks akong walang ginagawa at all. I would be in bed on a Monday morning at alam kong pumapasok ang mga tao. I'm still trying to accept that.
Yes, we need to accept that. At saka, and it should be okay. Like for example, I haven't, almost a year now, hindi nagsishoot yata. Pero in between that, I do other things. Like I edit, I write. So parang tinanggap ko na yun na ganun talaga eh. Ganun talaga
Ganun yung nature ng industriya.
Ganun yung nature ng industriya. Otherwise, parang laging stressed out na lang, may anxiety. Well, talaga naman may anxiety ako, among other things. Pero ibig sabihin, you create your own workflow, you create your own world. And yun talaga, wag mo pababayaan yung sarili mo, I think. And the relationships that you have. Yun. Kasi there was a time that I was really busy doing TV and after 2 years, wala na akong ginagawa. Then I realized I didn't have a relationship with people. I didn't have a relationship with my family or with my friends because I was really into my work. And it's not good, kahit saang yugto pa yan ng buhay mo, dapat inaasikaso mo yung mga iba pang bagay bukod sa trabaho mo.
I think that's a very timely reminder. Kasi, I don't know, kapag bata ka pa, people would say, i-allot mo yung time na yan to hustle. Tabi mo muna yung relaxing. Tabi mo muna yung maybe time with family or with your love life or something. So, laging may timeline na, okay, kapag bata ka pa, kailangan mo mag-hustle. Kapag matanda ka na, tumatanda-tanda ka na, dun ka na kind of like mag-let up. Pero, that's a good reminder that walang timeline. Yung pag-aalaga sa sarili mo sa mga relationships na meron ka.
Kasi, if you want to grow parang old, like buhay ka, dapat maayos yung foundation mo. Parang yung sinasabi nga, when you're 20s, you can let go of things. Pero dapat hindi. Kasi yun yung foundation mo eh. 'Di ba? Pagdating mo ng 30s, you should really be taking care of yourself for the future.
Right.
Not only about finances, but physical. Kasi, paano nga yun? Tumanda ka nga, hindi ka naman nakakagalaw. I mean, tumanda ka nga, wala ka naman mga relationships with friends. And these things are important. Importante siya eh. Bukod dun sa nagkukumahog tayo, we hustle every day. Kaya di ba marami rin tayo naririnig yan? Parang kayo, tingin ko yung mga bata kayo, parang pagod na pagod lagi. Parang laging stressed out.
Oo, kasi parang, ewan ko, medyo parang kasalanan minsan na nababakante ka. Parang it's wrong to have rest days. I don't know. I feel guilty sometimes kapag nagpapahinga ako on a day na dapat hindi ako nagpapahinga.
Pero dapat tingnan mo yon na investment mo pa rin yun sa sarili mo eh. Kasi sino nga ba yung gagawa ng mga gawain mo? Sarili mo lang din naman eh. Kung hindi ka nagpapahinga, paano na yun, di ba?
Naging advice session na to.
Oh,
Nakakatawa.
Sorry.
Okay. I wanna go back to your start in the industry. Hindi ka nagtapos ng filmmaking. And pangalawa, wala kang connection sa industriya. Gaano kahirap pumasok at gaano kahirap magsimula?
Sa case ko yata, parang hindi ako masyadong nahirapan. I think I was able to connect people who were already working in the industry.
Dun sa PETA.
So, hindi talaga ako nahirapan din. Pero, nahirapan ako in the sense that I didn't know anything about it. So, I just had to follow orders. I just had to follow instructions and studied on my own. Yun. On hindsight, I can say hindi pala ako nahirapan. Even nung I wanted to be a professional director already, parang I had my friends. I was working already for Viva. And then I just had to tell her, I want to be a director. And they said, yes, you can be a director. So, but I think other people find it really hard, you know, especially kung wala kang connection. Kasi ang industry may pagkaano rin siya eh, cliquish.
Okay. What does that mean?
Meaning we would always want to work with people that we always work with, that we like, we're friends with. You know, we have certain circles, for example. May mga kilala ako na kahit marami na silang experiences, pero dahil wala silang clique or wala silang group, parang hirap na hirap sila to find work.
Oo.
Kasi yun at yun pa rin eh. Kahit ako, I always work with the same people, with the same DOP, with the same creative manager.
Nakikita ko rin yan sa broadcasting.
Yeah.
Na you get the reporters, you get the people or staff na alam mo kung paano na gumalaw.
Yes, yes.
So for someone na hindi kilala or kaya outsider o kaya nag-a-apply, parang mahirap pumasok. What advice would you give to someone na walang ganong connection?
I guess expose yourself to making, kunyari, if you want to be in filmmaking, to making films, you know? And then work from there. Basta gumawa ka lang din ng pelikula, hindi mo aantayin na yung mga tao bibigyan ka lang ng trabaho. Baka kailangan mo rin mag-reach out. Like some people would really reach out to me. Like, oh, do you want to listen to this direct because I'm a musical director or something? I'm an artist. Do you want to listen to my work? Yun ang sinasabi ko eh. Some people don't reach out. Even actors, they don't reach out. Eh sa totoo lang, kunyari, when casting comes, ang naaalala mo lang yung kilala mo eh. Unless sobra talagang, alam mo yun, parang medyo may name ka na.
Yeah.
No? Yun, you reach out, you go to, kunyari may mga screenings yung mga director, na alam mong nandun sila, you go there to show that you are interested in the work that they're doing. You know? Kasi parang, how would you work with someone who doesn't even have an interest in what you do? Di ba? Expose yourself. Hindi mo iintayin yung mga tao na
Sila yung lumapit sa'yo.
Sila yung hahanapin ka eh. Ikaw talaga yung kailangan lumapit. Ganon talaga yun.
Palakasan ng loob.
Palakasan ng loob. Kahit kami, kunyari ako, I want to work with someone. I would seek that person out. I would check their work. Like coming here, before coming here, I check your podcast. You know, ganon yun. Yung iba kasi parang, okay, mag-audition ako, bahala na kayo, kunin niyo ako. Hindi. If you really want to work with this person, seek them out.
You know, it's funny. O nga, no? That works.
Yeah.
I remember when I was auditioning for broadcasting, may chinat ako na coach dun sa school na gusto ko pumasok. At hindi ako kilala ng coach na yun. We weren't friends on Facebook. We didn't have any mutual friends. I just sent him a message. Wala namang mawawala. Hindi siya mag-reply. I got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Pag nag-reply siya, I got everything to gain. And he did reply. And I had that ammunition when I auditioned.
See?
It really pays off.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, it's not easy though.
It's not
To
easy.
build the courage to ask. To have the courage to ask for help lalo.
No, but now, it's easier for people to reach out because of social media.
Yeah.
Unlike before, hindi mo talaga alam saan sila hahanapin eh. Susulatan mo ba sila or something? Alam mo yun? Ngayon nga parang i-message ka lang. Di ba? Sumasagot naman yung mga tao eh. Basically, sumasagot naman yung mga tao. Ako sumasagot ako eh. So, ayun.
Kailangan lang taga lakasan yung loob.
Lakasan ng loob.
Hindi unahan ng ihiya. Yun kasi yung minsan...
Nahiya pa ba kayo ngayon?
Oo naman! Nahiya nga pa ako ngayon eh. But I wanted to ask direct.
Yeah.
Kasi nabanggit mo 17 years
Yeah.
of filmmaking experience.
Yeah.
17 years, that is a long time.
Yeah, that's like one child, you know.
Oo.
Yeah.
Teenager.
Yeah.
Malapit na maging legal.
Yeah.
But how would you describe that whole journey?
It's amazing because it is not just about my filmmaking journey, but my journey as a person. My films can show it, you know, my growth, not only as a filmmaker in terms of the visuals that I have, but philosophy that I have, the politics that I have now are really reflected in that entire 17 years. Like, you know, like we were talking about director's vision earlier. Like, even for example, you want to do films.
Oh.
You should have a vision on what kind of films do you want to do? What do you want to be as a filmmaker? Hindi ka lang magpapadala dun sa agos na, gagawa lang ako ng isang pelikula dito, isang pelikula naman. Tapos, pag pinagsama-sama mo siya, ano nga bang sinasabi ng lahat ng pelikula ko? Kasi parang you are programming yourself also. You are telling, practically, when you are a filmmaker, you are not just telling these different stories, but you are also telling your stories through them. So, pag tinignan mo yung mga pelikula, kunyari, ako yung mga pelikula, para mo na rin akong makikilala bilang tao. My growth, the things I've been through, nandun lahat yun sa mga pelikula ngayon.
Anong example niyan, Derek?
Like for example, when I started, hindi pa nun uso ang tawag na BL, no? So, ang tawag pa lang sa pelikula namin, gay films, no? So, ang lalaki sa parola, ang lihim ni Antonio. What were those films? Yung mga pelikulang yun ay tungkol sa experiences ng gay man. Una, sa kanyang sarili. Pangalawa, sa kanyang pamilya. Tapos, ano ba yun? Yung dalawang pelikulang yun are reactions to the prevailing portrayal or representation of gay men in media. Na parang noon, ngayon kasi marami na, di ba?
Yeah.
Noon parang feminine lang, tapos loud, tapos parang lahat nagtatrabaho sa isang certain industry or job. Parang doon sa mga pelikula na hindi, may iba pa pala. Pwede naman palang masculine ang expression ng isang bakla. For example, yung ang lihim ni Antonio, pwede pala yung 15-year-old para lang yung kapitbahay mong bata dyan na naglalaro kasama yung mga kalaro niya. But at the same time, going through their crisis or questions about sexuality and identity. So yun, mula sa sarili, napunta sa pamilya, tapos tungkol sa society. So parang ganun ko tinitingnan yung mga pelikula ko. Tapos mula sa dahil sa paggawa ko ng mga films about gay men, no? Naging active tayo sa fight for LGBT rights. But along the way, no, nakita natin na hindi. We had a film about a woman seeking protection order against her abusive husband. So, about human rights. And then I did Walang Kasarian ng Digmang Bayan, which exposed me to different human rights issues. So, nakita natin na yung LGBT rights that we're fighting for are within the bigger fight for human rights. So, ibig ko sabihin, yung pelikula natin, lumalawak yung tinitingnan niya mga issues. Katulad din ng pagtingin ko sa mundo na lumawak ng lumawak dahil sa mga pelikula ko. Because every time that I make a film, I also study, I make sure that I read something, I watch something, and really study the material that I have. You know, so sa pamamagitan nun, mas na malawak din yung pagtingin mo sa mundo, no?
From the very start, Direk, alam mo na sa sarili mo na ito yung klase ng mga pelikula na gusto mo ilabas? Or was there a period of trial and error bago mo nahanap na ito yung gusto kong gawin?
Yung una kasi parang, yun lang yung chance eh. So yun na yung ginawa ko. Tapos during the time, yung mga pelikulang yun, they were relegated to old cinemas. Alam mo yun, yung mga lumang sinihan. So yung dalawang pelikulang yun, we started showing it sa mga malls, no? And people were buying it. And really, wala pa nun streaming eh. So, ibig sabihin, pumupunta talaga sila sa sine or bumibili sila ng mga physical DVDs. So nakita natin na parang, may market pala doon. So, I started doing that. But at the same time, hindi rin ako nagpakulong dun sa, dapat ganito lang yung mga kwento mo. So I started exploring things about,
like what?
Like, for example nga, relationship of a gay man within a Filipino family. Like, ang lihim ni Antonio. A gay man with the society, the prevailing conditions in Philippine society with ang laro sa buhay ni Juan and everything. Unfriend, which is about a 15-year-old boy who's dealing with depression alongside his experiences, their experiences with the internet. So lumalawak talaga yung mga issues na tinitingnan natin. Kumaga, yun sana yung wish natin din doon sa mga BL na bukod lang dun sa love. Alam mo yun, mas lawakan pa rin yung mga issues na isama doon dahil maraming nanonood eh. Ayun.
I want to ask about the vulnerability. Kasi you mentioned na yung mga pelikula mo is an extension of your own story.
Yeah.
And that reveals something very personal to you, something very deep. How are you handling that vulnerability part ng trabaho ninyo?
Wala eh. Meron tinatawag na may exercise sa acting, yung you just jump, you just let go. You just let go. I mean, it's really part. Ako, wala namang pare-parehong paggawa ng pelikula. Alam, yung ibang tao can do other films and they're not even remotely part of their lives. Napaka-personal kasi sa akin ang paggawa ng pelikula. So, Paano ko ba, wala, binibigay ko lang siya. Binibigay ko lang yung bahagi ng buhay ko na yun. At hinahayaan ko lang. If it resonates with other people, well and good. And mostly naman nagre-resonate siya with people.
Hindi ba siya emotionally taxing?
It is. Up to now, when I did my last film, Guardia de Honor, it's a very, very dark film. I was writing. So, Guardia de Honor is a story of a policeman who kills a mother and son. Remember that incident in 2020 in Tarlac, Huesca? And then along the way, his mother accepts that the family has a history of generational abuses. And then the mother has to make sacrifice to restore the family's honor. It's a very, very dark film, about abuse, police brutality. And I guess when I was writing it, parang for 15 days, parang nagaganon yung emotions ko. Although hindi naman siya tungkol sa buhay ko. Pero thinking about these images or this reality that is happening, there were moments na nagbe-breakdown talaga ako. Bahagi yun ng process eh. So, okay naman.
It's something na part of the job.
It's really part of the job. Especially if you consider your work really as something very personal.
What's your creative process? How do you start envisioning a film?
Okay.
Paano nagsa-start yan?
Usually, a certain stimulus. Like, for example, an event. Like, katulad niyan.
Okay, let's talk about one of your films. And then, paano ka napunta doon?
Paano ako napunta doon? Yung latest kong ginawa, that had its Philippine premiere at the Cinemalaya, Guardia de Honor, starring Alan Dizon, Loris Guillen, Sunshine Cruz, Therese Malvar. No? So, it's about that family who's, may policeman na pumatay. Kita natin yun, di ba? Nag-viral yun. So nakita ko yun, it had the potential of becoming a real strong film. Sa mga ganun ako nagsisimula sa mga kwento o kaya sa mga news. Tapos gagawa na ako kaagad dyan, i-stalk ko na yung Facebook accounts ng mga tao, tinitingnan ko yung dynamics, ganyan. I'd write something, tapos itatabi ko siya. And then, when I'm ready to write it, I percolate it in my mind first. Nasa utak ko lang muna yan.
For how long?
For kung kailan feeling ko ready ko na siyang isulat.
Okay.
2 to 3 months yan. I will have my own debate inside my... parang iniisip ko, is it worth telling? Yung mga ganong tanong pa rin. Kailangan ba siyang ikwento? Ano yung gusto kong talagang sabihin? Kasi it's easy. It's easy to write something and not think about what do you really want to say about this thing. Because I always say that whatever it is that you make, particularly when you make a film, you should add something to the conversation, to the discourse on the subject that you are presenting. Di ba? So, yun, iisipin mo yun. Ano nga ba yung gusto kong sabihin? So, pag medyo buo na yun sa utak ko, I start writing. But I write with urgency. Meaning, if I can finish it in 1 week or 2 weeks. 1
week?
Yeah. Kasi, para hindi yun mawala. And I really do that. And then after that, we prepare for shooting already. And then when I edit, casting, rehearsals, and all. And then we shoot. Then after shooting, we edit. I normally also edit. So I write, I direct, I edit. So when I edit every day. Like upon waking up, I would edit. And then itatabi ko na naman siya. Pagkatas kung matapos siya, tatabi ko siya for 3-6 months. And then I'll go back to it. And maybe re-edit the film. Matagal. So for example, if I have one project, it's enough for me to be busy for the entire year. Because I write, I produce. That's
what you're going to be doing for the entire year.
Yes. So yun yung process ko. And tinanggap ko na siya na ganun pala ako. I will finish a film and then put it aside, go back to it, and re-edit.
And it's something you learned over the years.
Yes, it's something I learned over the years. Even editing, even writing, all these things, I learned from scratch. I knew nothing about these things when I started working for television, So I'm really big on studying. Like, I had 2 big workshops for screenplay writing, the one with Bing Lau, the Found Story, and with Ricky Lee. So every time na mag-attend ako ng workshop, pag may requirement na kailangan ng script after, nagbibigay talaga ako. Kasi marami akong kaklase, hindi talaga sila nagtatapos ng script. So parang sayang yung panahon na the time that you spent on going there, on discussing with people, tapos wala kang outcome. So yun.
Says a lot also about your dedication for your craft. Yung aral, yung hindi natatapos na aral.
Exactly. Kailangan lalo na ngayon, there's so much available information on the internet. You know, parang there's no excuse for you not to learn something new every day. Like when I listen, you know, when I'm preparing for the day, having my coffee, nakikinig nga ako ng mga podcast na mga paborito, I learn something every day. Something that can help me in my work, something that can help me deal with my life. So, okay siya.
Do you think, Direk, that is an important trait to have as a filmmaker?
Yes. Sabi nga ng paborito kong filmmaker na si Werner Herzog, parang kung gusto mo maging director or filmmaker, you have to read. So ngayon, syempre, hindi na tayo masyado on
Books.
Reading, but listening to podcast. You know? You have to walk. You walk because you see life as it is. Your feet touch the ground, you know. Well, physically, you have to be grounded as a filmmaker, you know. Para hindi nakaangat yung mga ginagawa mo.
Hindi detached.
Hindi detached from reality.
Right.
And yun, mag-aral at manood ng mga pelikula, magbasa ng mga kwento dahil through them, natututo ka ng storytelling. Because at the end of the day, what we're doing is telling stories. No?
And it's an art, no?
And it's really an art. It's a skill at the same time, and it's an art. You know, I practice what I call cinema of consciousness.
What is this?
Meaning,
Cinema of consciousness?
Of consciousness. Meaning that our films and we as filmmakers should not just only be aware of the conditions that we have, for example, in our society, but also conscious of the system that enables these conditions to continue. For example, dun sa pelikulang Guardia de Honor, isang pulis na pumapatay. And we know that. Yung mga pulis, pumapatay talaga sila. I mean, pag pulis, pumapatayan. Parang ganun yung Bakit nga ba? So, di ba, nung nangyari yung incident na yun na may pulis na pumatay, galit na galit tayo sa social media. Pero, dapat ang pelikula natin should go beyond that. We should ask why. Because the system itself, the police system, has that history of violence and brutality. So, it enables every policeman to be that way. Our families, kunyari, ang Filipino family, we always pride ourselves with, close tayo, ganyan-ganyan, di ba? Parang, pero marami rin tayo mga tinatabing issues Parang marami rin tayo sa pamilya na hindi pinag-uusapan, no?
Yes.
So, characteristic natin yun bilang pamilyang Pilipino. So, yun, lalawakan natin yung mga pag-iisip natin. Pangalawa, bilang filmmaker, dapat conscious ka na, eto yung industriyang ginagalawan ko. Ano nga ba to? Ang industriya ng pelikulang Pilipino, ano yung sistema niya Saliwa siya Parang mababa yung bayad dun sa maliliit talaga, mahal yung bayad sa mga sikat, sa mga artista. There's so much inequality. Tapos, mahal talagang gumawa ng pelikula sa Pilipinas. At the same time, hindi talaga kumikita yung mga pelikula. So, dapat aware ka dun para hindi mo iisipin, ay, kawawa naman ako yung ginagawa kong pelikula. Parang hindi pang Hollywood, hindi pang Korea. Of course, iba yung kondisyon ng paggawa ng pelikula sa Korea. Mayaman silang bansa. So, ibig sabihin, kung conscious tayo doon sa mga bagay sa paligid natin, mas na itatama natin yung kwento natin at yung paggawa ng pelikula natin.
Pero Direk, how long did it take for you to accept that? Kasi mahirap tanggapin yung ganong realidad
How long? Siguro, I started accepting that mga 7 years ago. Parang, talaga
10 years as a filmmaker.
Yeah. Kasi nung una talaga, nangangarap ka pa na sana makagawa ko ng parang parang pang Hollywood. Pero alam mo naman na yung market nila ang laki-laki. Ngayon, ano na naman yung pangarap ng mga tao? Makagawa ko ng pang Netflix, no? Without realizing, for example, na yung iba namang trabaho dun sa Netflix na pinalalabas, yung iba naman dun pangit I mean, marami lang artista, pero pangit din naman yung mga laban. Pangalawa, ang mura pa rin bumili ng Netflix ng mga pelikula mula sa Pilipinas. Mura siya. Hindi ko nasasabihin yung amount, no? Baka nagva-vary sa iba. Pero ibig sabihin, mura siya. So, nandun pa rin yun. Kasi ang tingin nila sa pelikulang Pilipino, ganito lang yung amount, no? Unless a film is really produced by Netflix, saka yung malaki yung budget. Pero when they buy for streaming, hindi pa rin ganun kalaki. So, we should calibrate our expectations of the kinds of film that we make. And also, I hope the audience can also calibrate their expectations of the films that they expect from us. Isi-situate din. So naniniwala ako na dapat lahat tayo, hindi natin tinitingnan yung pamumuhay natin na nasa vacuum tayo eh. Nandito pa rin tayo sa Pilipinas. Ganun, setting expectations lang ng maayos.
Ang daming issues pala.
Oo naman.
Because it's a very glamorous industry from someone outside.
It seems like.
Pero maraming hindi alam yung ganitong realidad ng filmmaking sa bansa.
Oo. Lalo na, buti nga ngayon, yun nga kanina, yung Eddie Garcia Law, parang tinatrabaho na yung maayos na sistema ng paggawa sa pelikula, no? Yung number of hours, kasi dati masyadong matagal yung paggawa ng pelikula. Sa isang shoot, parang inaabot ng 18-24 hours.
18-24 hours?
Oh,
Walang tulog na yun?
Walang tulog nga yun. Yung iba nun, no? Lalo na dati sa TV. Grabe talaga. Pero ngayon, inaayos na nila na sana at least 16 hours. Kasama na dun yung break. Kasama
yan sa mga director yan?
Hindi, sa lahat. Sa lahat. Across the board dapat. Ako naniniwala. Even in our group, we practice that even way before this law.
Pero hindi lahat ganon.
Hindi lahat ganon. Kasi nga, may mga binabayaran na sobrang mahal. Kunyari, may mga artista binabayaran isang araw, 500,000. Libre mo yun, 500,000, nasa Pilipinas ka, tapos magre-reklamo pa yung iba na parang pinag-iintay ako sa set. But you get paid hundreds of thousands of pesos. And you're just waiting. Samantalang yung ibang mga maliliit na mga crew, magkano? 2,000, 5,000. Pero ganun din, sila nagtatrabaho lagi-lagi, buong oras yun. No? So, maraming inequality. Kaya ako, sa totoo lang, hindi ako masyado gumagawa ng pelikula ng yung malalaking artista, ng sobrang malalaki. Kasi parang, ano ba yun, no? Yung nakikita ko yung inequality. Parang dapat dun sa sphere mo wherein you have at least influence or power, dapat na-minimize mo yun eh. Di ba? Kunyari ako, hindi ako naniniwala dun na yung agwat ng sweldo masyadong malaki. So, doon sa group namin, dapat hindi ganun.
Pero hindi lahat ganyan, direct.
Ayun na.
I've worked with a few shoots before at meron talagang agwat.
Meron talaga.
Kung background talent ka versus kung lead ka.
Yeah, definitely. Kasi sinasabi nga nila, because these lead actors bring in money, right? Yan yung sinasabi nila. But, may kumikita mong pelikula. So, ibig sabihin, hindi natotoo yun sa panahon ng mga streaming. Pag malaki yung artista mo, pag nilagay mo sa sinihan, manunod lahat ng mga tao at kikita ng malaki yun. Hindi na. Kasi mapapanood naman nila later sa Netflix eh. Mapapanood naman nila online. Magkano lang yun. Di ba? So, ako iniisip ko, parang bukod siguro dun sa pag-ayos ng oras ng paggawa ng industriya, baka magkaroon din ng recalibration about the fees that we get. You know, especially yung sobrang tataas. Parang, ewan ko, I find it obscene that people really are paid so much na hindi siya kapantay nung iba or halos, na malayong-malayo yung agwat sa iba.
I want to know more about these misconceptions.
Okay.
Maliban dun sa glamorous industry siya, what else ang mga misconception about the filmmaking industry?
That it pays well, you know.
It doesn't?
Yung iba, hindi ko alam eh.
Yung first gig mo, direct, how much did it pay?
As a director, TV or...
Yung very first.
Very first, I think I got, for one day, I got 20,000.
For one day?
Yeah.
That is high.
Yes. As a director, I was a starting director then. Yun. Kaya nga parang yung mga director, kahit papaano yung mga writer, medyo malaki rin naman yung bayad. Kumpara dun sa mga ibang tao, no? Pero, kunyari, nandito yung mga writer, nandito yung mga director, yung mga artista na mga sikat nandito pa. So, mas malaki yun. So, ayun.
Would you consider this industry as a lucrative job?
Kung marami kang gigs, no, it is. Pero pag wala talaga, wala ka rin talagang trabaho eh. So, parang ganun siya eh.
Minsan bumubuhos, minsan wala.
It really breeds insecurity, I think.
How do you deal with that? The insecurity?
Well, I just had to accept it. I've accepted that already. And live modestly, I think. Like, you know.
Sa pay direct, may difference ba kapag independent filmmaker ka versus mainstream?
I think Meron.
Malaki yung difference.
Hindi ko na alam mo yan kung magkano na yung mga director kunyari sa TV at sa pelikulang mainstream. Siguro, mga ano sila, 100 a day or 150.
100K a day?
Yes. So sa amin, tinitemper namin yun sa indie.
Malinis yun, direct 100K a day? Or may bawas pa yung equipment?
Ay, hindi. Kunyari sa director lang yun. Yung mga director, parang ganun yata yung bayad sa kanila.
100K a day?
Oo,
Malinis?
Malinis, parang ganun. Basta nagre-range yan sa 50,000, 75, 100.
In a day?
In a day.
Hindi in a month?
Hindi in a month. Hindi ko na alam ngayon kung kasi iba yung pamamalakad namin sa grupo namin sa 2076 Collective.
Mataas!
Oo, sa mga nagdidirect, sa mga nagsusulat. Pero syempre nga, yung pagsusulat, lalo na, matagal mong gagawin yun eh. So, kunyari, you're paid, I think now, the prevailing rate is 250 per script. So, what people are getting it for 150,000 per script. But directing really, I think, especially for mainstream, really pays well, you know.
Talk numbers, direct. When you say it pays well.
Siguro mga 75 to 150 ang
taas. Alam mo, direct, madami kami nakakasama dito na iba't ibang trabaho. Ito yata ang pinakamataas na narinig ko. 75 to 100K a day.
Yes. Totoo.
A day.
A day. Totoo yun.
Parang ang sarap matulog kung meron kang 100K a day.
Oo. Kaya lang kasi...
Nag-agree. Grabe. 100K a day, medyo na-shook ako doon, Rick. So, 30 days. Tapos, yung 100K a day na yun, that you're working 7 days of the week? Or
no naman.
It
Because
varies?
you cannot. I don't know. Baka dapat three times a week ka lang nagsushoot eh. Kasi you have to do your pre-prod, you have to do your shooting, and you have to check on the post-production. So ideally, I think, those who are making, hindi ko na alam mo, baka bumaba ba o tumaas. Hindi, basta the range yun. Ang tagal ko na kasi hindi nang mainstream eh. The last time I was with a certain channel, I guess I was paid 100 a day.
my goodness.
And that was a long time ago. I don't get that anymore with independent films. I don't get that.
Mas mababa.
Mas mababa. Pero, iba rin kasi, parang sarili mo na yung, I am not answerable to anyone aside from my immediate producer.
Ano yung pros and cons ng mainstream and independent? Since we're on the subject.
I think it's creative freedom. Kasi basically, when you're working for a company, you are still an employee. You have to follow certain rules and you have to finish certain things, you know. Pero yun nga, malaki naman siguro yung bayad sa kanila, no? Pag independent ka, like sa case ko, parang I have my own time. I set my own goals. I set my own deadlines, timelines. And, you know, I'm flexible with that. I'm kinder to myself, you know. Ayun, yun yung pinaka-ano yata. Tapos I'm more independent creatively. Like, I can do somehow the films that I want to do. Yun.
What made you shift from mainstream to independent? Meron bang specific instance when you realize na mas prefer ko mag-independent?
During that time kasi uso pa yung inuumaga yung shoot parang at 2 a.m. Parang hindi na ako makapag-isip. So, ano bang ginagawa ko dito? Tapos yung mga artista, parang hindi naman marunong umarte. Parang ano bang ginagawa ko dito? Parang, yun.
Pang 2 a.m. thoughts nga yan.
Diba? Parang,
nagigets ko.
Parang naalala ko dati, yung pagod na ako, sabi ko lang, pag yumaman talaga ako, yung pwede na akong kahit na anong oras, sabihin ko, pack up, alis na tayo, babayaran ko na lang kayo na lang.
Nagagawa mo na yan ngayon, direct.
Hindi na, pero hindi.
Yan ang gusto natin.
Pero hindi naman dahil lang doon. Kundi mas kontrolado natin yung paggawa ng mga bagay.
So okay lang sa'yo na even though lower a little bit kapag independent.
Yeah.
Mas gusto mo yung creative freedom na meron ka.
Oo eh. At saka, ang hirap din makisama minsan eh. Kasi feeling ko, kailangan kasama mo rin mag-isip sa kaisipan mo eh. Parang you have the same philosophies, for example.
Kapag independent filmmaker ka, you have the luxury of choosing.
Yes, you have the luxury of choosing people you want to work with.
So sa mainstream, nandyan na?
More or less, yes. Meron ka rin naman mga pwede. Pero yung sistema kasi nandun na eh. How they do a certain product, for example. Nandun na yun eh. Nakaset up na yun eh. Papasok ka na lang doon. Pero yung ako naniniwala ako na kanya-kanya yung some really thrive.
Preference.
Thrive in that kind of industry.
Honestly, naisip ko yan, direct, because you said creative freedom. But sometimes, too much freedom could maybe feel a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel that?
No, because I also set boundaries. Like, for example, being an independent filmmaker has certain boundaries also. Like, you have limited resources.
Okay.
So, hindi ka rin naman yung, kahit na ano na lang yung gusto kong gawin. Kasi baka hindi naman kaya ng budget.
Right.
Pero ibig sabihin, mas konti yung pinakikisamahan mo, mas yung desisyon nasa sayo.
So, up to you kung paano mo didiskartehan.
Didiskartehan yun. Yun.
But I'm curious about what you said, Direct. Working with people na medyo possibly hindi mo ka-vibe.
Yeah.
Possible for us to name names, hindi pwede.
No.
Bawal. Pinaka-favorite mo na nakatrabaho at pinaka-hindi favorite mo na nakatrabaho.
Sino ba?
Uy, curious yung mga nandito.
Pinaka-favorite ko na katrabaho.
Yung madali at mahusay, katrabaho talaga. Ganyan. Sino mga
may syempre safe do. Hindi. Pinaka-favorite ko within the group, like yung DOP ko, si Manuel Garciliano. Because I think we share the same values.
Okay.
You know, and when I write something, he reads it, he knows how to execute it already. You know, pinaka-ayokong katrabaho.
Ayun na.
Wala naman. Parang ako kasi naniniwala din ako na yung sinasabi nila mahirap katrabaho. Yung perception lang din naman yun lahat. Some people may even perceive me as mahirap din katrabaho because I'm exact. So, ganun talaga yun eh. Kanya-kanya lang naman yung preference.
And I think kasama siya sa industriya natin.
Yes.
Na iba't ibang timpla talaga ng mga tao yung nakakasama mo eh. Pwedeng ka-vibe mo, pwedeng hindi.
Yes. And sometimes, dahil nagtatrabaho na kayo, edi go, trabaho kayo, di ba? Trabaho lang. Like, hindi na lang ako magbabanggit ng pangalan.
Okay.
A lead of one. Hindi kami close. Sinabi ko yun sa kanya, we're not close. No? We just work together. Yeah. They agreed. Hindi nga kami close. Because meron ding perception na pag nagtatrabaho kayo, parang close na kayo with actors.
Actually, direct nakikita ko yan. Yung parang kailangan kilala mo yung artista mo para alam mo kung paano maipalabas sa kanya yung emosyon na gusto mong ipalabas.
Pwedeng yes, pwedeng no. For example, if that particular actor fits the role, then you get to know them, no? And then, but you don't, there was a time, pero yata ako nun eh. Parang na-off yung ibang tao. So, we're not working here to make friends. You know, if we become friends along the way, that's a bonus already, which is very true. I mean, the very first parang objective in working together is to create something. You know, not to really become friends and become chummy with each other, you know.
So, it is possible.
It is, definitely. Like, lang naman eh, kung pare-pareho lang naman kayong tao, tapos you respect each other, you know, pwede naman kayong gumawa ng na hindi kayo talagang magkakaibigan. Ewan ko, parang nasanay lang yung mga tao na dapat magkakaibigan tayong lahat. Parang, pwede namang hindi.
From an outsider, akala ko ganun talaga dapat.
Hindi naman. Parang pagkatapos na mag-shoot, goodbye na yun eh. Some people really move on to other projects. Ganon.
Worst and best artista, Direct, na nakatrabaho. Uy, medyo nahirapan siya, guys. Nag-aalangan hindi kung kasi, i-reveal.
Oo nga eh. Bakit nga ba? Kasi best.
Best and worst artista. May mga nabanggit ka na kaninang artista na familiar sa akin. So, ano yung mga best and worst? Nahirapan si Direct.
Kasi parang kung tinanong mo ako mga 3 years ago, baka ang bilis kong sumagot.
Bakit nagbago? Anong nagbago sa 3 years na yun at nahirapan ka na sumagot?
Or 3-4 years ago. Kasi you just don't judge people with a certain instance that you meet them or you work with them.
I love that.
Because
now that I can learn from.
Diba? Hindi naman sila yun eh. Maybe the circumstances were different or strange, and that's why we all behave differently during that particular time. And we have to account that for our behavior.
Ang ganda. What a good reminder.
Diba? Kasi parang andaling i-dismiss ngayon ng mga tao. Worst and best yan. Parang hindi. Ewan ko.
That's actually a good reminder, Direk.
Thank you.
Sino na lang pinakamadali nakatrabaho? Ganun na lang. Or most memorable, even.
I know. I remember. Memorable. I don't know if you still remember them. Like sila, Hilda Coronel. I don't know if you know her. You know, she was a really big actress. Very good actress. I was very young. Very, very young. When I directed her. Siyempre, bago ka, kahit director ka, natitense talaga ako.
Kapag may artista.
Siyempre, natitense ka eh. Pero hindi mo yung papakita. No? Mayabang din kasi ako, lalo na nung bata ako. So, hindi ko yung pinapakita. So, sabi niya, ako si Hilda, ganyan. Tapos, sabi niya kaagad sa akin. So, I'll be ready in 30 minutes. Sabi niya, I'm ready anytime.
Ay.
Tapos take.
Ganda.
Sabi niya, Sabi ko, okay, good. Okay ka, Direk? Okay. You know, Direk, I don't like take twos. Sabi niya gano'n.
Take one lang daw.
Sabi ko, ayaw ko rin eh. But I'll ask for it if I need it. Ganon. So, ganon lang kami. Tapos, pakiramdaman. Tapos sabi niya sa dulo, I like you. You work fast. Sabi ko, I need a take two now. I need you. You know, parang yung mga ganon. Ito pa, isa pang misconception, di ba? When you're working in the industry.
Madami kang chika.
Ayan. Wala kasi ako, hindi ako talaga mahilig sa ganon.
So, well, kasi maraming ganon, Direk.
I know.
Kapag may sumasabog na issue, pasok si Direk.
Parang kala mo kilala nila lahat. Kala mo lahat sila may take about it. Parang there are other things in the industry that we should talk about other than these people. Parang ako ganun. Ever since, hindi ako nakukuha na ng kahit katrabaho ko pa. Hindi ako magvo-volunteer na, alam mo yan, katrabaho ko yan, ganito yan.
Hindi chismosa si Direk. I can't relate.
Hindi, may ganun. Maybe because of the people I am close with, I mean, the 2076
I think that's
collective.
very rare for someone na nasa industriya for this long.
We would talk about people in relation to issues, for example.
Okay, but not people and their personal lives.
No. Hindi naman nakakabuti sa buhay ko yun. I mean,
sorry na, Direk.
hindi rin talaga nakakabuti sa'yo bilang tao. Alam mo yun? Ayun. So, pinaka-paborito ko si Jericho Rosales.
Okay, ano po meron kay Jericho Rosales?
Wala, nung bata siya na direct ko siya, sobrang galing niya. Hindi ko na siya ngayon alam kung how is he now.
Anong taon to, Direk? Anong era ni Jericho Rosales?
90s, very young, very young.
So, parang binata pa siya nun.
Binata pa siya nun. Very good, very, very good. Who else? Of course, well, I've worked with them, sila Hart and
Evangelista.
Yeah, very nice person. You know,
I love her.
Yeah. Sila Alessandra
De Rossi.
Yeah.
Nakakatuwa. Gusto ko yung nakatrabaho ni Direk si Hart, tas ako yung kausap niya ngayon.
Oo, di ba? Kamukha mo daw pala.
Wala ka. Direk, ano lang ako dito, demure lang.
So, hanapin mo na si Gis dyan. Ano ba?
Mamaya po. Okay. Direk, how about controversy? Na ano ka na ba?
The biggest I think
nasangkot ka na ba sa ganyan?
The biggest I think was when our film was banned at a certain festival. Because they deemed it too political, I guess. Yung walang kasarian ng digmang bayan.
Too political? May ganun pala sa filmmaking. May too political.
Exactly. So,
ano ako dun sa background music natin, no?
Yung kulog, no?
Nag-uusap tayo sa controversy, tapos kulog-kulog yung ano. Okay, proceed.
So, it was supposed to be part of, well, I'm friends with most of them now. Sinag Maynila. And then, we had the press con already, they showed the trailer. Tapos everyone went silent because it was really political. There was a line in the film that said, kung kaya ko lang ako mismo ang papatay kay Duterte. Because,
oh my goodness.
Walang kasarian ng digmang bayan is about a filmmaker activist who becomes a revolutionary soldier. So yung pamilya niya, yung pamangkin niya napatay dahil sa drug war ni Duterte. So yung ganong, kaya yung nanay niya, yung lola ng bata, nagsalita ng gano'n na, kung kaya ko lang, ako mismo papatay kay Duterte.
Teka, hindi ka pa natatakot sa mga ganong bagay?
Hindi naman, kasi parang, ano ba, kung natatakot tayo, wala na tayong magagawa, di ba? So, buhay pa naman tayo. So, hindi siya dapat nakakatakot. Basta naman totoo yung sinasabi mo, parang, ewan ko. Kasi marami na rin nagtanong sa akin kahit kapwa filmmaker, hindi ka man natatakot? Hindi. Kasi yun na nga yung ginagawa nila, nananakot sila. So, nasa sa atin kung magpapatakot tayo eh.
Grabe.
Ayun.
Have you always been this way?
I think yes. Kahit nung bata kasi ako eh.
Kahit nung nagsistart ka pa lang sa industriya?
Oo eh. Ano talaga ako, I'm very vocal about things. And I have my own opinions on certain things. So yun, kasi yung pagkabana yun ng pelikula, nasira yung mga friendships. As in, nasira talaga. Pagkakaibigan nyo, nasira. Ako naman kasi, handa ako sa kahit na anong pwedeng masira. Basta yan, no? Hindi ko alam. Pati siya nagpo-protest eh.
Ayaw yata ng mundo na pinag-uusapan natin yung mga controversial ganito.
Parang handa ka naman na sa harapin kahit na kahit pagkakaibigan, sisirain kung prinsipyo yung pinag-uusapan.
Grabe.
Ayun.
That's easier said than done, ha? To stand by your principles. Kahit na ito yung
taya.
Oo.
Hindi, pag tumatanda ka, alam mo, sabi nga nila, as you grow older, you will have to face a lot of difficult conversations. You you have to do a lot of difficult conversations. And through that, if kung malagpasan mo yon, maayos kayo kahit magkaibigan kayo o hindi. Basta, pag-usapan ng maigi. Ayun.
Grabe. Takes a lot of courage. Lalo na parang on the political side, yung mga pelikula ninyo. Were there ever any threats or scares?
Wala naman. Parang sabi lang, parang may bug daw yung phone or something.
Phone ninyo?
Pero di. Kailangan talaga. Ako naniniwala ako na bilang artist, no? Kasi yun naman din talagang ginagawa natin. Meron dapat tayong certain stand on things like human rights. Dapat inviolable yon. Dapat maninindigan ka talaga. Pag may pinapatay, hindi ka pwedeng tatahimik eh. Ganon yung artist. Dapat lagi kang nakapanig sa bayan, no? So, isa pang sinusundan ko lagi sa totoo lang, yung tanong na, para saan at para kanino ba yung likha mo, no? Para saan ba yan? Para kanino mo ginagawa yung mga trabaho mo? Para sa bayan ba? Para sa kapwa Pilipino mo? No? Kung yun yung pinaninindigan mo, hindi mo iisipin yung mga takot na yun eh. Parang ganon.
Were there times na nag-waver ka?
Oo, maraming beses. Marami naman hanggang ngayon. May mga panahon naman na when difficult times occur or happen, you really question yourself if this is all worth it. But at the end of the day, parang pa rin siya eh. Nandito ka na eh. Tapos, marami rin naman sa yung binigay. Ang pelikula. Game pa rin.
Grabe. Grabe ang puso dun sa ginagawa mo. Feel ko kapag hindi ka ganun kabuo sa prinsipyo mo at sa kung bakit mo ginagawa to, pwede kang bumitaw eh.
Bibitaw ka naman talaga kahit sa buhay, bibitaw ka sa hirap ng buhay. Pero ayun lang, laban lang. Ayun.
Grabe. Grabe, nakakabilib. I want to ask Derek kasi we talked about the struggles in the industry. How about what you love about this industry? What made you fall in love with this industry? At ano yung mga bagay na pinaka binabalik-balikan mo?
Yung makagawa ka ng magandang pelikula and a film that would resonate to an audience. Not necessarily a big audience. I mean, kasi gano'n naman, tinanggap ko na rin yun na yung mga ginagawa kong pelikula would only appeal to certain type of audience. And for as long as there are people who identify with them, who are touched by my films, yun na yung gusto ko.
No matter what the number is.
No matter what the number is. Kahit isa pa yan, basta nag-resonate sa kanila yung pelikula, okay yun. Diba? Kasi sabi nga nila, parang the film will find its audience. Mahanap din nung pelikula mo yung tamang audience. Pinakagusto ko dito, yung kalayaan kong mabuhay the way I want to live. I think the filmmaking has afforded me that, to have quality of life, the kind of life that I have, that I want, time that I have also for my cats, for my dog, for the people I love.
May work-life balance ba, Derek? Kasi you mentioned na you could have an idea in the middle of the night, you could edit hanggang gabi. May work-life balance ba? But you get to pursue other things besides your work?
Yeah. Nasa sa'yo yun eh. Kunyari, ako, pag magbabakasyon talaga ako. Hindi ka magtatrabaho sa bakasyon. Hindi ako magtatrabaho, hindi ako magdadala ng or kahit kunyari, kahapon, Sunday, hindi ako magtatrabaho. Kasi I allotted that day for myself and for my cats or for the person I am with. So, yun. Ikaw yung magtatakda naman ng balance. At alam mo yun, when you need to decompress, for example. Like, when I'm editing and I feel like I'm really cooped up and, I'm just there. I go out. I go to the park. I walk. I go to a store. I eat. Whatever. It really depends on you.
I think that's part of what you were saying kanina, na boundaries.
Yes.
Setting boundaries, hindi lang sa ibang tao, kundi sa sarili mo din.
Yes, sa sarili mo rin. And yun din ang mahirap pag ikaw mismo nagtatakda ng mga gawain para sa sarili mo. Hindi ka nawawala ng gagawin. Yun, parang hindi ka tulad nung nag-office ka tapos may mga deliverables ka lang. Di ba? Pag natapos mo, tapos, eto ikaw talaga maghahanap ka ng pwede mong gawin. Pero at the same time, ikaw din yung magtatakda kung kailan mo siya gagawin at kailan ka magpapahinga.
I think that's very important sa mga freelancers.
Yes, importante talaga yun. Huwag sunggab ng sunggab.
I needed that advice, Direk. Okay, so nung mga nakaraang linggo kasi, medyo madalang yung pasok ng mga, last month yata. So ngayong buwan, nung pumapasok yung mga gigs, di bali ng 7 days a week magtatrabaho ako. At ito na nga, malapit na nga ako magkasakit, Direk. So I really needed that advice, that reminder.
Kailangan
na you need to set boundaries even though yung pagsesetan mo ng boundaries ay yung sarili mo.
Sarili mo. Importante yan. Kasi how can you set boundaries to other people if you yourself cannot to yourself? Like, you do not have boundaries within yourself. Like, when do you rest? When do you ganyan? Parang, yun. Lalo na sa ating mga freelance yung kuha lang ng kuha. Titingnan mo rin, may pahinga ba ako in between, I think. Ayun.
I think that is something I need to learn.
Diba?
Coming from someone na nag-freelance for a long time. Maybe even far longer than I have been living on Earth.
Exactly.
But I've just been in this industry for 2 years at hirap na hirap ako dyan. Direct yung pag-set ng boundaries.
Pero naiintindihan ko yan. Na pag freelance ka, lahat gusto mong kunin.
Oo, kasi kapag when you have experienced drought, you wouldn't mind a little downpours. Tulad ng ulan sa labas.
Yeah.
Pero kailangan meron pa ring boundaries. Ang downpour. Would you have wanted to change anything sa mga napagdaanan mo as a filmmaker?
Meron ba?
Any regrets?
Hindi ako kasi parang I look back just to show my growth, but I don't look back to have regrets because wala na yun tapos na Kung meron ka man, you learn something from it. And moving forward, if there was something that you didn't like, then moving forward, you would do it differently. I guess. Parang ganun. Kasi it will not do me any good
to dwell
on the regrets or the past ng masama. Okay yun. I love, kahit sa Pilipinas, parang kunyari, kailangan natin, lagi ko yung sinasabi sa mga gustong gumawa ng pelikula, kailangan nating matuto sa kasaysayan. Kaya, bukod sa pag-aaral tungkol sa filmmaking, kailangan mag-aral yung gagawa ng pelikula ng kasaysayan ng Pilipinas. You know? So, kahit sa personal na buhay, ganun din yung ina-apply ko. I study my past. I study the past events in my life and learn from it.
Is this what you mean, Derek? Kasi I read in one of your answers na dito mo nahanap sa industriya yung identity mo. Is that what you meant? Na kung paano mo ginagawa yung mga pelikula mo, you also apply it in your life?
Yes. And karamihan sa mga kwento dun ay may kinalaman sa buhay ko. So, parang I came from a generation wherein we were not big on coming out and it was so hard for us to come out. So, parang yung pelikula ko, yun yung coming out to my entire family. So, yun talaga yun. Bahagi yun ng identity ko, yung pelikula ko. At bahagi yun ng buhay ko.
Pero grabe, Direk, when someone from our generation, kapag napanood yung pelikula nyo, they could have that courage.
Yeah.
They could find that motivation, that inspiration to do it.
Yeah. I was with some students from Ateneo Dinaga. I went there to have a workshop on film directing and it was a very, very nice experience. Because akala kasi talaga ngayon parang ang pagiging filmmaker o director para rockstar yung tingin, di ba? I am a filmmaker, I am a director. There's so much work behind it, you know.
A lot of sacrifices.
Of sacrifices also. But of course, there are also joys, you know. Pag nakita mo na yung pelikula mo, iba rin naman, no?
Ano yung feeling nung first time na nakita mo yung pelikula na pinroduce mo, Derek?
Parang, wow, nakagawa ka ng ganito. Tapos,
I made it, ano ba yan? Parang I made it feeling.
No, I am, kasi ako maano ako mag-check ng sarili ko.
You don't allow yourself to get too high.
Yeah, there were moments when I felt that, but I've learned to check myself also.
Check yourself how?
Like, itong pelikulan to, eto lang yung reach niya, ganito talaga. Ganun yung mga expectations mo, hindi na masyadong malaki. Pero yung Fulfillment, yeah, that's a word. Yung fulfillment mo, once you see something na maganda siya, at least para sa'yo, sobrang laki nun. Sobrang saya nun. I still cry watching my films.
Really?
Yeah. And to think, napanood ko na siya siguro 100 times.
Yeah,
dahil
with
kay
your editing.
You know, kasi ganun talaga ako eh. Hindi ako napapagod manood ng pelikula ko pag nag-e-edit ako. To fine-tune it. Maraming beses ko talaga yan pinanunood.
Pero naiiyak ka pa rin. Bakit?
Naiiyak ako. Kasi pag nanonood naman ako, I allow myself to be the viewer, to be the audience. And I see and I find out how my film affects me as a person. No longer as a filmmaker. You know, as an audience. Ganun.
Do you think that is an important trait to have para sa isang filmmaker? Kasi direct, whenever, especially with us creatives, yung output natin, minsan nalalagay natin yung worth niya sa perception ng ibang tao.
Okay, ganito. Siyempre, masarap din man na marami nag-appreciate ng ginagawa mo, right?
Yes.
Pero, dapat ikaw muna yung maka-appreciate ng ginagawa mo. At ikaw muna ang dapat sigurado na gusto mong i-share yung ginagawa mo dahil maayos at maganda mo siyang ginawa.
Ang ganda.
Di ba? Kasi, syempre, mag-share ka lang naman ng niluto mo kung masarap yung niluto mo. I mean, you know. So, dapat ikaw, solve ka na doon sa ipapakita mo sa mga tao. No? Parang, pero mahaba rin siyang proseso. Parang dati, I went through a lot of insecurities also. There was an instance, I had a film, it won best film at a certain festival. I was not really confident about it. Pero hindi lang ako nagsasalita. Siyempre, parang director kayo, you have to stand by it. No? Pero ganun, may mga moments din naman na may, hindi masyado, but people really like it. So sige, hindi mo sasabihin nyo, I don't like it. You know, or it's the least of my favorite. But alam mo, grounded ka. I'm so grounded with my films. I know when I really have done a good film.
And it took you a while to develop that.
It took me a while.
To be transparent, nandun pa ako dun sa medyo nakadepende pa sa ibang tao yung worth ng trabaho.
Totoo yan.
Kasi nagsisimula pa ako lalo sa industriya. So kapag may nagsabi na, uy, medyo pangat na pagkakasabi, uy, nabulol ka kanina, maano na ako yan. Magaling ba talaga ako? Para dito ba talaga ako? Ganun.
Parang may time na kailangan ko ng mga awards. Yun yung ano sa amin. Bukod dun sa acceptance sa mga tao ng audience, yung mga awards, yung mga gawad urian, yung mga ganyan. Parang Gina G ka pa nun eh. Parang ganun. Pero dumating din sa buhay ko, I think it was in 2014 na feeling ko parang it shouldn't matter.
Because? Paano ka dumating sa ganong...
Kasi may pelikula ako, Kasal naman. So, Kasal was the very first Filipino feature film that tackled same-sex or marriage equality. No? So, I felt like it was an important film. And some people snubbed it. You know, parang inisnub yun ng critics or ng ibang ano. Although it won Best Film at Cinemalaya. Pero parang that time, kailangan ko yun eh. May mga moments sa buhay mo na kailangan mo yung affirmation. Pero pag hindi mo nakuha siguro yun, tapos hindi ako nag-dwell na hindi. Ang inisip ko lang, hindi ko kailangan na yun. Hindi ko kailangan yung affirmation na iba. Hindi ko kailangan yung award para lang sabihin ko sa sarili ko na maayos akong gumawa ng pelikula. Then, hinayaan ko na siya. Tapos dumating pa yung mga ibang awards. So, tinatanggap ko lang siya. Pero at the back of my mind, parang, ano nga ba talaga to? Parang nung panahon ng pandemic nga eh, wala naman nagawa sa akin yung mga trophies. Alam mo yun, yung parang, ang dami kong sira-sirang trophies sa totoo lang kasi may mga cats ako. So syempre, natumble nila ng gano'n. So parang tinitingnan mo lang siya, these are just things and people forget about them. Sa totoo lang, these things may be a reminder of how people have accepted your work, but they don't really sum up the worth of what you do.
My goodness, I needed that.
Diba?
I hope I get to that point someday, Derek. Yung
You
ganun
will.
ka-confident at kakampante dun sa trabahong ginagawa mo na hindi mo kailangan ng ibang tao para i-affirm na maganda yon.
Kailangan natin yun. Kailangan natin yun. And yun.
Any advice, Direk, to aspiring filmmakers at yung mga filmmaker, gusto maging filmmaker pero medyo hesitant pa na i-pursue yung industriya?
Okay. Mag-aral, unang-una. Hindi lang ng filmmaking, kundi ng kasaysayan ng Pilipinas para ang mga ginagawa natin pelikula ay, kumbaga, they don't exist in a vacuum. That our films and us as filmmakers should be part of the society, of the nation, you know. So, dapat grounded tayo. Ulitin ko lang yung sinabi nga ni Werner Herzog na una magbasa na magbasa. Bukod sa paggawa ng pelikula, social sciences are very good background for filmmaking, history, psychology, whatever. Lahat yun, importante kasi marami kang matututunan doon. Literature, magbasa ng mga ganon. Pangalawa yan, you expose yourself to the reality, no? You walk on the ground. As in, literally, you walk. No? Lakad ka, wag Uber ng Uber. Alam mo yun? Kasi ang dami mo mapupulot eh. Have empathy for other people. Because in doing that, you will have empathy for your characters. You don't see them as black and white. You don't see them as kontrabida or bida. Everyone has a place in your story. Just like the way every one of us has a place in our country, in our nation. Ayan.
What a way to... But just one more question, Direk, before we end the podcast. Dami ka natutunan kay Direk, promise. Ako talaga ang panalo sa araw. But what is your vision for the filmmaking industry in the Philippines? You have been here for 17 years, more than 20 years sa industriyang ito. Ano yung vision mo for the future generations pa?
Ang vision ko, magkaroon ng maayos na kondisyon ng paggawa ang mga manggagawa ng pelikulang Pilipino. Ako iniisip ko kasi, di ba, meron yung mga housing for teachers, housing for, certain, iniisip ko, sino nga ba yung sinabihan ko na, si Lisa Dino yata, former FDCP chair na, baka dapat meron din tayong ganun. Kasi minsan ang pagtingin natin, in 10 years or 20 years, we want to be the Korea of, we would just like to be like a Korean filmmaking industry, for example. Hindi, ako ang iniisip ko, sana 10-20 years meron na rin mga pabahay para sa mga manggagawa ng pelikulang Pilipino. Alam mo yun? Kasi iba rin yung may sarili kang bahay. May dignidad dun eh. Di ba? Parang maayos ang paggawa, maayos ang oras, tama yung pasahod sa lahat. Yung parang ganun yung pangarap ko, bukod pa dun sa mga pelikulang magaganda. Kasi gaganda pa lalo yung mga ginagawa natin pelikula kung tama yung kondisyon ng pamumuhay ng mga manggagawa ng pelikulang Pilipino.
And that is the dream we have for the industry as well. Maraming salamat, Direk. Thank you so much for joining us here sa podcast.
Maraming
Isang
salamat.
Malaking karangalan na makausap ka at matuto mula sa'yo.
Maraming salamat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ang saya! Direk, balik ka bukas ha.